and welcome to Add More Zest. My name's Rebecca. Happy 19th of June, everybody. I hope you are having a wonderful day. We're on a bit of a weird section today because it goes all the way over here, but then my next two sort of haven't lined up right. So there is a bit here that's not been done, but then I kind of want to square this one off. So I've moved 25 down. I'll do these sort of 6 here that are in the crossover. And then when I've finished, I'll move 25 back up until we're doing day 25. I figured that'd work well enough. So yeah, we are carrying on. This is actually getting quite a key part of the painting, I suppose, finished, but it is what it is. Little update on the water situation, just to keep you all in the loop. We had an inspector come out again yesterday. So after the plumber had been out and was like, yeah, that's not right. So anyway, we had an inspector come out again. We advised them, well, he said to us initially, he came to the door and he said, look, you know, this has been going on long enough. I think this is what we need to do, which is replace some part back at the mains, which would have meant turning off people's water for a short amount of time. And yeah, they needed to replace that part, and he reckons that's what it will be. And he's like, I'll get that put in to get done tomorrow, and get that sorted out because it's been long enough. So it's like, great. He's like, I'm going to go and have a look at it now, you know, all that jazz. Anyway, he then comes back and knocks on and said, yeah, he says, that is pathetic. He says what it's doing. He says it is nowhere near right. So he said he's actually going to get somebody out that evening. So true to form, they did get somebody out that evening, and they replaced whatever it's called at the mains. I'm sure he said like it was a flange or something, but to me that sounds like a kind of made up name. But anyway, they replaced it, and so far it all seems to be working perfectly. The problem is, because it's low pressure, we weren't necessarily noticing if we lost pressure until somebody else, one of our neighbours, was using theirs. But hubby tested it sort of after they'd been last night by running the tap downstairs and running it upstairs and running the shower, and that all seemed to be able to cope perfectly well. The inspector was amazing. He actually phoned me up today to ask if all said works had fixed the problem, which is the best we have had so far, because while the others have been great, there's been no follow-up. It's all had to be chased by us, or any potential work chased by us. So yeah, he was absolutely amazing, and we now have water as we did originally, before a neighbour decided to mess with it. So I thought I'd give you that mini update, which is, I say, amazing. Just exactly what we wanted. Just things back to normal. Thank you very much. Weather today, just, you know, while we're having updates, weather today is cloudy. It's actually a bit more nippy today as well. So while I did put a load of washing on, I decided not to put it out because it would take more than a day to dry, because I did a load of towels. I thought, I can't be bothered putting them out to pull them back in still wet. But on the plus side, weather is supposed to be going up. It's actually showing 26 degrees one day next week, which I'm not sure if I'm up for that. But yeah, it's definitely still supposed to be nice all week and getting warmer as the days go on. So we'll see how we fare with that one. Other little update, I got an amazing, unexpected piece of post this morning. So let me show you all. Got this gorgeous little card, and it is from Tina, or aka the cat lady, and I mentioned in a video that I may need to get a seam stripper soon for my quilting, just for any mistakes. She has a stock, so she has sent us two, so one for me and one for Caris. So thank you ever so much, Tina, or the cat lady. We now have a seam ripper each, which is absolutely perfect because that is a tool that I don't have. I'm still sort of figuring out what to get and when, trying not to go too overboard, but also of course wanting to go overboard. Don't we all play that battle with a new hobby? And yeah, while seam rippers, you know, I think they are, you know, pretty common. You can sort of pick them up because it's not something I've needed yet. It's not hit top of my list, and we've not yet been to sort of a fabric shop / quilting place that we can, you know, just pick up a bit of this and a bit of that and a bit of the other and go a little bit crazy. Whether we will soon, time will tell, but yeah, we've not done so far, so therefore we haven't, say, picked up all these random little bits. We're just sort of getting them as we need them. So yeah, thank you ever so much, Tina. That is amazing, and I am so very grateful because there will be a time that I will need that seam ripper. And you bet your life I wouldn't have bought one yet, because until you need it, it's not an exciting purchase now, is it? Fabrics are more exciting. They're more of an exciting purchase to make, even though you don't have something to make them with. You know, even though you don't necessarily have a quilt that you're going to make with what you've purchased. But yeah. I'm half and half now with my quilting between doing some more of, you know, the bigger quilt that I want to make, or whether to do some simpler blocks on a quilt and make a baby quilt for one of my nephews. I'm very undecided at the moment. I think as much as I don't want to have multiple quilting projects on the go, I have visions that is potentially what could happen in my life. That is what I could end up doing. So yeah, we'll see how good I am. Right, I'm kind of trying to get some of this bottom block done so that I can move this cover paper up, because I keep getting distracted by the symbols that are over here, which is why I do use cover paper to stop me getting distracted. So I think I know I have some ABs and stuff and I do want to do them, but I kind of want to get these bits down here done so I can move this cover paper up first, and then normal service will resume. Anyway, on to comments, questions, etc., because I get frightened every single time I scroll down to the bottom of the comments to get the oldest ones. I get kind of frightened by how long that actually is, how big a gap there is between them. But Diamond Painting with the Edwards says, hi Rebecca. She says it's Jill. She loves the cover paper. She is currently watching the videos backwards. She was camping during the beginning and she can't wait to see me kit it up, because that's the next video she's gonna watch. Love it. Absolutely love it. Watch it backwards, forwards, upwards, sideways. As long as you're getting a bit of me time, then that is the main thing after all. Melissa, she says, I hope somebody, she says, keeps a tally of the amount of people that caught on that I said the 4th of July. Practically everyone, I think, on that video. She says, you must have had a really good holiday. She said, good to have you back. Yes, you've got to love the slip-ups, especially when I'm doing things later at night. Always makes for more entertaining videos from me. Elijah, I am rubbish with names when I haven't heard the pronunciation. She says she's on her last bit of black on her letter E. Well done. That should well and truly be done by now. I'm sure you've completely finished all the black on your letter E. Gray Legrand, she says, yep. She said, it's me hitting pause again. She says, welcome home. She says, going away is nice. She says, but there is nothing like coming home. I agree completely. She says, glad you all had an amazing getaway. She said, thank you for answering my question about the 3D printing and filament. She said, how cute, she says, would different coloured tray stoppers be? Yes, they potentially would. Stoppers quite often is a tricky one, to be honest, because we do have a couple of different sizes of stoppers, and we fit them to the trays, and it can vary depending on which printer it's printed on, or what type of filament it is, as to which stopper gives the perfect fit. And that doesn't necessarily mean that we can print it on the same printer and it fit exactly. It doesn't sort of work that way. So we have found by just having a generic means I can just bulk print the stoppers and just print loads of them and then keep going with them until they run out and then print loads more. I'm sure there are ways to make it work even better where you sort of can get them to fit exactly, but I'm not the one that creates the actual files, so it is definitely not my department, that one. Yeah, I just get the stoppers to fit. She also says, oh, and speaking of puzzles, she says she puts them back into the box too. She says the only one that she has glued and put up on the wall was a botanical of the cacti of Arizona. She said she sealed it, mounted it on foam board, and used command strips to adhere it to the wall. Command strips can be great for putting up on the wall, anything like that. I've done a couple of diamond paintings that have been like individual panels that then make up the picture, and I love mounting those on foam board and then putting them up with command strips, because it can get the command strips are perfectly fine with the weight of the diamonds as well, just because it's spread out over panels. It makes it a lot easier, and the foam board keeps it nice and rigid and makes it dead easy to hang them up. So that's my go-to for them as well. Alaya says she has evening meds to take, and she's now taking something half an hour before sleep. She said the only way that she can remember is to take it is leaving it on her bedside table. Yeah, you've got to sort of work with what works for you to remember to take something. And it will be different for everybody depending on what their morning routine is, evening routine is, all that sort of stuff, to know where to put it. But it can be great when you find that spot, because it means once you get to the point where you've found the spot where you need to leave something, it doesn't become something that mentally runs around your head all day anymore, because you know that you'll remember at the right time because your reminder is there. And it makes it a lot easier to just not have to think about it during the day, rather than having it, you know, one of those multitudes of things that goes round your head day in, day out, all the time. Grey Legrand, she says, pause. She says, Rebecca, who does the wash in the house? She said, do each of the kids have a designated wash day, or do you do it all? She said, my household is a party of one. She said, so she typically washes on a Friday. She doesn't want to work on the weekends. She says she's also in the US, so she uses her dryer. The kids will, you know, if they need something specific or need something for a certain time, like some uniform or some particular thing, they will put, you know, a wash on and then sort out putting it on the maiden or something like that, to ensure that it gets dry. So they all know how to use the washer and are more than capable and more than willing to use it. But in our house, I tend to do all the washing. Though now Catherine's home from uni, she'll also sort of do it with me. And that's primarily just because I am at home in the day. So it is just as easy for me to put on a load of sort of everybody's washing. So it's sort of become the norm that I do it. Though if they want something specific for a specific day, then they tend to put that on themselves. They do tend to check with me, but only because whether they've got the space to put the load out to dry it. So they'll, you know, come and ask me how long that load's been on the maiden or whatever else. But they don't have the time before work. Everybody is out of the house well before 8 o'clock in the morning. So they don't have the time before work to like do a load or finish a load and get it out on the line when it's nice. And more often than not, I'm rotating the washing about and filling up the maiden throughout the day. So in our house, it is primarily me that does the washing. And it is primarily me that gets behind on it often. And then I can have days where I have a completely empty basket and I am literally collecting stuff every morning. From whatever anybody has taken off the night before, and I put a load on. But our washing machine pretty much goes every day of the week. We have, I would say, when you start including bedding and changing bedding, that tips our washing from a load a day to potentially 2 loads a day. Or a load a day, extra loads for bedding, which with 6 people with 6 beds, that can equal another 6 loads, maybe 5, because all the girls use a double quilt on their single beds. So you know, that pretty much takes up a wash load by the time you put in their quilts and, or their quilt cover, should I say. Their quilt cover, their sheet, and then potentially any blanket that they may have, though that's primarily one daughter. Occasionally, you know, if we did it all at the same time, we could potentially combine that into 5. And then you've got a load for our whites, which is more things that are white rather than a light colour. So yeah, I would say probably 2 loads a day for this house. It does feel like less when I'm on top of it, and then the girls will clean their room and change their bedding, and all of a sudden I'm behind again. Sort of the way it works in this house. But yeah, I primarily do the washing just because it is easier for me. I'm at home. Even when I was working for an employer, I still tended to do the washing because, again, working from home, it was the easiest for me to do. And it used to be a mixture of all of us when I had to go out to an office. It used to be all of us, most of us, but I often was the most forward-thinking, you could say, in relation to making sure the load was put on so it could go out in the line before I left for work, depending on what shift I was on. So yeah, hopefully that clears that up. But yeah, the washing, that is my job. Right, I'm feeling now like, because of the outlines, I've got lots and lots of bitty bits now. And it's actually these here that I've got visions of missing. So let's get these filled in. Cross Stitch and Tat, she says she's playing catch up with the videos. Due to the house getting COVID. Seems to be doing the rounds again, does it not? She says she's been posting pictures in the group though. Well, I hope you are all feeling loads better. Because it definitely does seem to be doing the rounds and sort of getting people again. Marsha Braswell says she enjoys hearing all the dog stories. Should have seen her last night. The girls got her bacon bubbles. So they are just bubbles like kids have. Blow bubbles, they go pop, but they smell of bacon. She actually had great fun going around the garden last night, trying to catch all the bacon bubbles. So there's a visual for you. She says they have neighbours on both sides of them who have dogs. Several years ago, they had a black lab and a blind Chinese pug. One neighbour had a Jack Russell and a chocolate lab. The other neighbour had a dog of unknown mixed heritage. And when her daughter and herself would get home from school, we would inevitably find an extra 3 dogs in their yard. The Jack Russell would pogo over the top of the fence. The chocolate lab would jump on his doghouse and then sail over the fence. And the mixed pup used to dig under the fence, no matter what they tried to prevent that. She said Mandy and I couldn't figure out why our yard was the fun yard where all the dogs wanted to be until they caught her hubby handing out treats to all the dogs one Saturday afternoon. She said, mystery solved. Oh yes, they will soon learn where all the treats are. That is for sure. This is where I go for treats. Rose, she says, hi Rebecca and fellow Zesties. She says, happy day 5. She says she's glad that we had a lovely time away and enjoyed some time off. Yes, don't quite know where that went now. She said, speaking of walking washing machines, she says hers doesn't walk, but sometimes it will fill up and just continue to fill. Ooh. She says water will begin to go everywhere throughout her laundry and her hall. She says luckily her house is pretty much tiles. Pretty much tiles, she says, so when she realises, she takes full advantage and mops the floors and washes the walls and all. Absolutely love it. It's like, yep, this totally random, excuse me, yeah, so this totally random thing keeps happening to me, but that means I need to wash my walls and my floors. She says it only does it a few times a year. She says, but what do you expect when the machine is 26 years old? She said she washes 1 or 2 loads depending on towels every 2 days, and weekends are mostly bed linen and blankets. She says so at the moment she can't really complain about overfilling. She says when it only happens once every few months. She prefers old washing machines built much better, she says, back in the day. Happy dotting Zesties. Yes, that can be very, very true. Things built years ago can often have a much longer going sort of rate than something that is newer. Our boiler, for example, has been here since we moved into this house 27 years ago, 26 years ago. Yeah, and it is still going, and we've had to replace a couple of parts in it, but on the grand scheme of things we have hardly spent anything compared to if we'd have replaced it when we first moved in. We probably would be on our 2nd boiler by now. So any time the plumber does come out and replaces a part, which I say isn't very often, it's only been 2-3 times, he does always recommend that we just stick with the boiler we have until it's no longer worth repairing if something goes wrong. So it's doing us proud. Lysalu says, hi Rebecca, they are currently away visiting their aunt, so I've just been doing bits of coasters, etc. Fun little off the canvas projects. They're also on a countdown to a major operation on the 5th of July. It says won't say what as it can be triggering to others. It's life-changing. They said so when they're home from their aunt's house, they'll be trying to complete Fairy House, and then they can start a new project when they feel back up to dotting again. Have a lovely month and keep being your amazing self. Oh, thank you so much. You have an amazing month, and hope everything goes exactly as it should and as you want it to at the beginning of July, which is not yet, even though I have said it in my past video. It is definitely not yet. Nancy says, just getting here now, so just catching up on the 5th, and they're looking forward to the video on the 6th. Well, I'm only just catching up to comments on the 5th, and we're now on the 19th, so you're doing fantastic. Sherry says she's finally caught up. It must be the day for catching up. She says hooray. She says she has to say that the advice you gave for the Zesty during her GED, she said, was fantastic. She said, how wonderful are you? I'm not too bad at giving out helpful advice to others. It's following my own advice that is always harder. But isn't that the way with everything? I always respond better to advice people have given me, even if I know it's something I should have been doing anyway. 2, I suppose it's just what works for my brain. Right, I'm getting that purple up there before I miss that as well. Kathy, she says, greetings from rainy Atlanta. She says, Rebecca and fellow Zesties. She said, speaking of dogs that jump, she said, reminds me of another kind of jumper. She says, this is a true story. She lives in a subdivision, she says, with lots of neighbours and a bit of wooded areas, and they often see domesticated deers. One day, the gate to their backyard 4-foot high fence was open. 2 deer, she said, came inside the fence. One was an adult and the other was a little one with a brown coat and white spots. Oh, hang on. She says, as they moved across the yard, the adult simply jumped over the fence to be able to get out. But the little one just stood there looking lost and confused. I am not surprised. So let me just do a switcheroo of some trays. She says he couldn't figure out what to do. She wanted to go out there and lead him to the gate, but of course that would have scared him off. The adult deer, she said, was no help at all. Finally, the deer figured out how to go back through the gate, and they lived happily ever after. It's one of those, isn't it? Your instinct is to help, or, you know, to say, this is what you need to do. And of course, humans going out to them is a very, very scary thing, would have made things a whole lot worse. But you just can't help yourself. I'd have probably just shouted through the window what they needed to do and then watched them figure it out. Henny's says, hi Rebecca, is it possible for you to make a video about the tray making process? She thinks that would be interesting to watch. She says, thank you for all that you and your family do for us Zesties. Yeah, we actually have cameras attached to the printers that we print the trays on. So I will try and remember one of these sort of future prints to get a video of the whole sort of printing process for one or some of the trays, and then pop that up and you can see it build the tray up layer by layer until it's completed. So I'll see if I can get that sorted. Kaz, she says, a little Oh, I think she's saying a little late to the whip and chatter party. She says watching this video today as she was out and about yesterday. Well, I hope the out and about was a nice out and about, and that you had a good day, whatever it was that you were doing. Alley Cat says, hi Rebecca, says she's definitely behind in the June waffle. Oh, that does not go there. Get off. Yeah, she says for good reason though. She says her grandkids are here for the week and they're keeping her really busy. I can imagine. They are keeping you super, super busy. She says she told hubby that he can't make any plans next week. She's trying to finish the first row on Breath of the Night so that she can roll it up and start working on her old master for the summer with the masters event. She says that's what she'll work on for the rest of June waffle. She says she hopes that we had a wonderful and rested holiday. Thank you. Yes, the holiday, while it may be may seem a long, long time ago in my brain, was not that long ago, but it was absolutely fantastic. So thank you. Right. Okay. Got all of those. Monique says, hi Rebecca. She said, it is a lovely morning here and she is still doing her project outside. Awesome. I'm not doing a project outside today. It is far too cold for that today. I think it's about 15 degrees Celsius, which is not freezing, but it's not sit outside and do a project kind of weather. I've just spotted one of those plus symbols that I've missed. So let me just fill that one in. And then I can carry on with my letters. Liz, she says today's update. She says she finished her section in less than 30 minutes. She said it was slightly smaller and predominantly colour blocking of one colour. She says just a bit of 3 others. She said still it is sky at the TP at the top. Sky at the top. She says more colours to come as she progresses. She says moving on to a big canvas to finish listening. She says, have you ever thought about doing drill funnels on your 3D printers? She says the ones where you pop the container into the stand. We haven't at the moment. There are a few ideas of things we could potentially do with the printers. However, anytime we think about possibly looking into them, to be honest, the printers are constantly busy at the moment. They're sort of full-time busy on their tasks of printing trays. So as much as we have the idea of potentially doing something else, we'd have to probably order more printers to be able to do that. And that's not necessarily something we want to do. So just because they take up sort of the maximum amount of space. Like we might be able to get away with one, but if we brought out a new product line, it would probably need more than one. So at the moment we sort of haven't gone there. Never say never. It may be something in the future, but we have a few other things that are sort of rattling around in my brain that I'd like to do before anything like that. But yeah, you never know. Never know. All right, I've just added another colour. Day 19. And it's the first time I've used this colour. Potentially, it's the only time. It may be something that is only on here. but I guess we'll see, because I have tipped all the diamonds into the tray, and this is all the diamonds that I have, so it could very well be just in this one little spot here, when we take into account the extras they give you in case something happens to some of them. So get a little bit of a nice colour. Doro Be Punked says they needed 2 June Waffle videos to nearly finish their section. She said thank you for the daily videos and your company while diamond painting. Well, that is the main reason I do it. I am so happy that I can keep people company while they're diamond painting. And to be honest, this month is a fairly busy month for me. It gets busier over the next couple of months. But this one does often have, you know, or demand a chunk of my time. So it is actually quite nice to be able to get some diamond painting in, even if so far it is just June Waffle painting. It is nice to be able to get some in, because who knows when I would get some in otherwise, if it wasn't during this. Get in. Trying to get these to behave. Christina, she says thank you for another lovely waffle. She says it kept her company while some sickness has struck her down. It is. Do you think it's this cold weather? I mean, colds and things are often, you know, more apparent in cold weather, primarily because people are inside more, you know, mixing around together inside more, which can of course spread germs. So do we reckon that this cold spat that we've been having has left people inside more and therefore spreading their germs more? Because it does seem like a lot of people are getting knocked a bit for six at the moment. Liv's Dottie Den got a few comments. She says she loves the pen. She says she may have to order it this launch. Well, I hope you managed to get one. I think there was actually a mini miscount with the pens this last month. I am pretty sure that the one that I have left over in the shop is actually a spare one. I'm as sure as I can be, because of the numbers that we had. I don't remember. It's one shorter than what I thought it would be, and I don't remember having any arriving damaged or anything like that. So I think it may have been a miscount. So I may have another one left, but I do want to give it a few weeks for everything to arrive with anybody in case there's any problems. She also says thanks for the organisation tips, and she says she totally gets where I come from. She says that's kind of how she tackles each bit. She says it just takes time. She will get there. So Liv at the moment is on a sort of revamp, rearrange, or were you moving into a new dotting space? Anyway, she has a dotting space that she is trying to get ready to be able to go and dot to her heart's content. So I love organising, so I always try and give a few little tips that may help where possible. She also says, Dad doesn't like going to IKEA. She said he has a bit of a meltdown, especially if it's a weekend trip. She said so herself and her mum went down the week, which is a good idea. Oh, heck yes. I love IKEA, and I do not go at a weekend. The only time I will go at a weekend is about 9 o'clock on a Saturday night before they shut at 10. Saturday daytime, never going to happen. Not going to happen. Saturday evening, maybe. Otherwise, no. She says in relation to chairs, she said she got her office chair that she has in the dotting den from the range. She says which is a great place with a variety of chairs. And she says there's regular reductions too. Awesome. Oh, got a couple of hairs attached to my wrist. I'll just pull them off before I zoom out my camera. But there we go. We have finished the painting part today. Where are we off to tomorrow? We're off over here. Tomorrow, get a bit more done round there, and then tomorrow is officially sort of a third of the way through. It is definitely getting there. So this is where we are up to now. A lot more done at the top than is done at the bottom, but catch up is happening. Bit by bit, it will be done by the end of the June, which is the main thing. But anyway, thank you so much for watching today, and I'll speak to you all again tomorrow.